Hi. So in this session, I want to make our fraction class a little more useful, right? So I just want to add two more things here. First of all, I want to add a print function, right? So the fraction should print itself. That basically means that it should print in this format. One more thing that I want to do is I want to add a simplify function. And what simplify should basically do is it should simplify the fraction. That basically means if it is 20 by 30, it should simplify it to 2 by 3. If my fraction is 5 by 10, it should actually be stored as 1 by 2, and if I ask it to print it, it should actually print 1 by 2, right? So I just want two functions, print and simplify. We can decide when all we want to simplify. Should we allow the user to call simplify whenever they want to, or should we always keep our fraction simplified form? Okay, so we want to implement these two functions. Let's get started. Perfect. So one thing that I want to do is I want that I should be able to do this. Perfect. So let's define a print function. Now the print function will take the object as input, and what do you want to print here? You simply want to print the numerator, right, and the denominator. I'm just going to pass all three arguments here and the denominator, right? So let's see if this works. So it's saying numerator is not defined. Obviously it's not defined. You can't just write numerator. What you need to do is self dot numerator and self dot denominator. Perfect. Let's create this again, and it's printing the way we want it to print, 2 by 3, right? Works really well. But I think we should do a few more things here. So the first thing that I want to do is, if the numerator is 0, I don't want it to print. Let me show you other way around, right? If the numerator is 0, what do you think it should print? I don't want it to print 0 by 3. That looks weird. I want it to print 0, right? That's first thing that I want to handle. So what I'll do is, if the numerator is 0, then I just want to print 0. I don't want to print anything else. So this goes into else. So this goes into else. Anything else? Any other case? One more case. So as soon as you've done this, I think this should work fine. You're printing 0. Just one more case. So if my fraction is 2 and 1, I don't want it to print 2 by 1. I just want it to print 2. So I'm just going to handle one more case here. So elif self dot denominator is 1, then I want to print just the numerator, right? Perfect. So I think this case is handled as well. So my print, I think, works pretty well. One thing that we have not done in all our fraction class so far is, what if somebody passes the denominator to be 0? What happens then? We need to worry about that. That's a case that we don't want to happen with our fraction class. So ideally what should happen? Our init function should basically create a problem. It should throw some error. It should not work if the denominator is 0, right? So let me just quickly add a to do for that. We will not be able to do it right now. So if denominator is 0, ideally I want to throw an error, right? The way you get error in your code when there is something wrong, something similar should happen here, right? We will learn about throwing errors sometime later, but we should do something like that. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something as idiotic as this. I am not going to allow you to set the denominator to 0, so I'm going to set the denominator to 1. Okay, so I'm not going to let you set the denominator to be 0. Okay, cool. So we have our print function that works well. Now let's create the simplify function. So what needs to happen in simplify? Let's say you have 5 by 3. So it should stay 5 by 3, because there is nothing which divides this as well as this other than 1. There is nothing which divides both of them other than 1. So what we need to do is, let's say this is 10 by 5. Then we need to find, hey, 5 divides both of these. So we should divide the numerator and denominator both by 5. So we need to find the GCD, the greatest common divisor for numerator and denominator, and divide both of them by that GCD to get our actual values. Okay? Perfect. So let's define a simplify function. This will take self as well, and we need to simplify it. So first of all, we need to find GCD of two numbers. We need to find GCD of numerator and denominator. For now, I'll do something as stupid as, I'll take the minimum of these two, I'll take the smaller of these two, right? So for example, in this case, this is 3. So I'll try to divide by 3, does not happen. I'll try to divide by 2, then I'll go up to 1 to try and divide. Wherever I find something which actually divides, I'll stop. Okay, I'll stop there. So minimum is minimum of the numerator and the denominator. Okay, so let me take this to be the current. Okay, while current is greater than 1, so I'll try to divide till 2. Okay, I'll try to divide it till 2. So while it is greater than 1, what I'll check is if self dot num is divisible by current and self dot denominator is divisible by current, then I'll basically break. I'll break. What does this mean? Otherwise, if it does not go inside the if, it comes to the next line, then I'll do current minus equal 1. What does this basically means? So if this is 10 by 5, so my current will start from 5. That is the minimum of 10 and 5. I'll try to divide 5 self dot numerator by 5 and self dot denominator by 5. If both of them are divisible, I'll break. So my current will stay at 5. Whereas, let's say I had 14 and 6. So I'll start my current with 6. 6 does not divide 14. So I'll try with 5. 5 does not divide either of them. 4 does not divide either of them. 3 divides this but does not divide this. 2 divides both of them. So I'll break and my current will have 2 in it. So as soon as I come out of my while loop, I'll change the numerator. So it should divide exactly. So it should not matter whether I put a single slash or a double slash. I'm going to put double slash with current, and denominator should also change by the same factor. And my my fraction should be simplified by now. Okay, so we'll handle the edge cases. If we'll think of all the edge cases and see if it actually works. Perfect. Right, so let's give it 14 and 6, the example that we just took. Let's try to print it. It prints 14 by 6. Now let's simplify it first, and now let's print it. And it prints 7 by 3, exactly what we needed, right? It prints 7 by 3. So what if it was 14 by 5? So if it was 14 by 5, what will happen is we will not find any current which divides. So this while will stop when current is 1. Because current is 1, the numerator and denominator will stay the same. So 14 by 5, simplify, and still 14 by 5. So seems like simplify is working absolutely fine. Okay, any other case that we want to take care of? If the numerator is 0, okay, interesting. So if this is 0, what should happen? Right? If this is 0, what should happen? I think 0 by 5 should get simplified to 0 by 1, right? I think that should happen. And will that happen here? Not necessarily, because your current will take minimum of these two, that'll be 0, right? So this is actually a problem, right? That's actually a problem. So what will happen here? This is my fraction. So let me print it. When I simplify, right, let me print it. Okay, I haven't run this. So when I simplify, it's giving me an error. So what's happening here is, so when current takes minimum of these two and current is 0, it does not go into the while loop, but you do this. You try to divide by 0. That's why you're getting an error. So let's do one thing. Let's do one thing. If the numerator is 0, let's make the denominator to 1 and return. That should handle this case, right? That should take care of this case. So simplify works now, and if I print it, it still prints 0 because we have taken care of the 0 case in print as well. Alright, so this should take care of it. Now the only case is if the denominator is 0. Let's hope the denominator is not 0. We have handled it in the constructor as well. So let's hope the denominator is not 0. Unless somebody goes ahead and sets it to 0, it won't be 0, so let's not worry about that. Okay, so amazing. So we are able to create a fraction class. Whenever you want to simplify your fraction, you just call the simplify function. Whenever you want to print the fraction, you just call the print function. In the next session, we'll write two more functions. One to add a fraction into another fraction, and to multiply a fraction into another fraction. So what I want to do is, if I have a fraction, I should be able to say, hey, within this fraction, add another fraction. So this fraction's value should change to f1 plus f2. Similarly, I want to write a multiply function as well. So we'll do these two in the next session. Thank you.